Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
I rise today to advise honorable members of the completion of the audit of the Consolidated Fund financial statements for the year ended March 31, 2019, which were tabled in this honorable House a few minutes ago. As honorable members are aware, the Consolidated Fund is the general operating fund of the Bermuda government and is the fund through which government conducts the majority of its transactions. The Consolidated Fund financial statements report the financial position, operations, change in net debt, and cash flows resulting from the activities of the government. This includes the accounts of the Senate, the House of Assembly, all government departments and offices, and all courts. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to report that the 2019 annual accounts of the Consolidated Fund of the Government of Bermuda were given an unqualified audit opinion and can report that the items that precipitated the 2018 qualified opinion have been rectified. Mr. Speaker, despite the clean audit opinion, under the Audit Act 1990, Section 6(1)(b), the Auditor General is able to include in her report any other comments she considers appropriate. Accordingly, the Auditor General has, for the 9th consecutive year, included explanatory paragraphs as other matters which she deems appropriate. These other matters relate to the following: public debt and guarantees. The Auditor General has highlighted that while the government is within the legislated debt limit of $2.5 billion, there is a further $1.2 billion in guarantees to various lenders by the Consolidated Fund. Increasing net debt. The Auditor General has noted that the net debt, as calculated on the Statement of Change in Net Debt, increased by $102 million and continues to grow. And I refer you to page 7 of the financial statements. The usefulness of the financial statements. The Auditor General explains that the usefulness of the financial statements is limited because they are not summary financial statements. That is, they do not represent the combined financial position and activities of all government entities, only the Consolidated Fund. It is important to note that these explanatory paragraphs do not alter the Auditor General's unqualified opinion, but are highlighted matters. However, the government notes the Auditor's concerns in these areas and has already started to tackle these matters. For instance, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Finance has already put in place a plan to eliminate the deficit and ultimately reduce the debt. Mr. Speaker, liabilities related to pension and other employee future benefits are also included in net debt amounts disclosed in the financial statements, and the government has already started the review of these benefits to ensure their sustainability. Mr. Speaker, in relation to guarantees of the Consolidated Fund to various lenders, the Ministry notes that the majority of these guarantees are related to debt taken out by public authorities, and the number of $1.2 billion in guarantees mentioned by the Auditor General could be misleading if not clarified. Mr. Speaker, guarantees are contingent liabilities to the government and are not included in the government's balance sheet or counted against the debt ceiling unless the guarantee becomes due and payable by the government. All guarantees are disclosed in notes to the financial statements of the Consolidated Fund and the annual budget. These guarantees are as follows: a guarantee by the government of Bermuda, a guarantee by the government of the Bermuda Hospitals Board's annual service payment obligations related to the financing of the new acute care wing at the King Edward Memorial Hospital over a term of 30 years consisting of principal, interest, construction, life cycle, and hard facilities maintenance. The total present value of the future payments due from the BHB to the private sector partners was $279.3 million as of March 31, 2019. A guarantee by the government of the West End Development Corporation payment obligations related to 1, the repayment of construction financing for the construction of affordable housing, and 2, the repayment of financing to facilitate the completion of the land reclamation project in Dockyard for the America's Cup. 3, the repayment of financing and to facilitate the completion of Kings Wharf project, in total estimated at $71.85 million. A guarantee by the government of the Bermuda Housing Corporation, PHC payment obligations related to the repayment of construction financing for the construction of affordable housing estimated at $29.3 million. A guarantee on behalf of the Bermuda Casino Gaming Commission supporting an overdraft facility with the local financial institution of $1.2 million. $1.021 million has been drawn on the facility as of March 31, 2019. A guarantee on behalf of the Bermuda Tourism Authority supporting a loan with a local financial institution of $10 million to repay a loan from Royal Caribbean. Various other small business loans guarantees with the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation totaling approximately $1.4 million as of March 31, 2019, and a $165 million guarantee by the government of various loans to Morgan's Point Limited, the Caroline Bay Hotel developer, for the construction of a Ritz-Carlton hotel and residence. It is generally not the policy of the Ministry of Finance to issue guarantees to the private sector unless the matter is of national importance. It is also important to note that any private sector guarantee agreement includes conditions typically included in non-affiliated financial guarantees, and the government is compensated by providing these guarantees. Mr. Speaker, with regard to the presentation of summary financial statements for the Bermuda government, the Ministry agrees there are benefits to issuing consolidated financial statements. However, honorable members are advised that there are other associated issues that need to first be addressed before proper consolidation can take place, and the Ministry notes that it would be prudent to have all of the audits of public authorities current to ensure the summary financial statements are not misrepresented to users. The audit report date is November 19, 2019. In 2018, that date was also the same. Certain private debt placements made by the government contain a reporting covenant requiring delivery of the audited financial statements within 240 days of the fiscal year end. Honorable members are advised that this reporting covenant was met. Mr. Speaker, a few of the financial highlights of the 2019 Consolidated Fund financial statements are as follows. Cash balances as at March 31, 2019 totaled $26.7 million, which was $6.5 million higher than the balance as at March 31, 2018. Mr. Speaker, net public debt, which excludes guarantees and is net of the government borrowing sinking fund, increased by $42.3 million during the 2018-2019 period, starting at $2.461 billion at the end of the year, compared to $2.419 billion in 2018. This represents a 1.8% increase from 2018. Items of note are as follows. There was a successful public debt issuance of $620 million in November 2018. The majority of the proceeds were utilized to retire higher interest-bearing debt, saving the government just over $1 million in annual interest expense. The 2019 sinking fund balance was $218.9 million compared to $150.2 million in 2018. Mr. Speaker, the total revenue raised by the Consolidated Fund for fiscal 2018-2019, excluding the extraordinary revenue of $10.2 million from paying off the North Channel shipping loan, was approximately $1.09 billion, representing an increase of $27.5 million, or 2.6%, from fiscal 2017-2018's total revenue of $1.063 billion. This exceeded original budget estimates by approximately $416,000. The most significant generators of revenue for fiscal 2018-2019 were payroll taxes, accounting for $467.5 million, or 42.9% of total revenue, versus $456.7 million, or 42.7% in the prior year, and customs duties accounting for $226.1 million, or 20.7% of total revenue, versus 2017-2018 numbers of $223 million, or 20.9%. Current expenses for fiscal 2018-2019 were $1.187 billion, as compared to $1.130 billion in the prior period. The three largest components of current expenses were employee cost, grants and contributions, and interest on debt. Total employee costs were $550.1 million, or 46.3% of total expenses, versus $518.5 million, or 45.6% for the prior period. Included in these amounts is $78.5 million of non-cash retirement benefit expense, Grants and contributions were $319.2 million, or 26.9%, versus 2017-18 numbers of $285.3 million, or 25.2%. And interest on debt was $124 million, or 10.4% of total expenses, versus the prior period of $117.9, or 10.4%. Total current expenditure on a modified cash basis was $1.1 billion versus the prior period of $1.073 billion, which was $7.9 million less than adjusted budget estimate, and in the prior period it was $20.7 million less. Mr. Speaker, total capital account cash expenditures was $58.6 million, which was $3.6 million lower than the original budget estimate. Total capital and current account cash expenditure for 2018-2019 was $1.168 billion, which was $11.5 million, or 1% lower than the original budget estimate of $1.180 billion. Mr. Speaker, the all-inclusive results from government operations, both current and capital, for the year ending March 31, 2019, were a deficit of $123.3 million. There were many non-cash expenses included in this figure. If we strip those away, the modified cash all-inclusive results from government operations on the same basis that is shown in the budget book was a deficit of $77.7 million. This compares to a deficit of $89.7 million that was originally budgeted. Therefore, the actual overall deficit was down by $11.9 million, or 13.3%, when compared to the original estimate. The decreased deficit is the result of prudent management of discretionary current and capital expenditures. Mr. Speaker, the 2018-2019 fiscal results are concrete facts that indicate that this government is committed and capable of maintaining control of the public finances while at the same time working for the people of Bermuda and delivering the level of services that they deserve. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry will be providing full commentary on the actual fiscal performance for 2018-2019 in the pre-budget report in advance of the fiscal 2020-2021 budget. Therefore, I do not propose to go into further detailed highlights at this time. Meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, the statements of the Consolidated Fund provide valuable information on the financial position of the government, and I would encourage the public to examine these statements. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.